I'm here in Grenada West Indies, having moved from the UK almost a year ago, and I just wanted to reflect on my time in Grenada because I know lots of you are thinking about moving, you want to know what you learn in the process. So after 12 months of living on the island, I've decided to show you a little bit of the Grenada that I love, and at the same time share what I wish I knew before I came here. So something else I think is really important to have been aware of before I came here is just how different it is to live somewhere versus being on holiday here. And to be honest, I've had quite a few stints of being in Grenada. I set up a business here, I came here pretty regularly. So, you know, I think I knew the difference between being here for a few weeks versus being here longer term. And one of the things that often, worries me when I do consultation with folks who are looking to move, are if folks say, yeah, I went on a cruise and I popped into Martinique for the day and I loved it. I can really see myself moving there. And I think, popping into somewhere for a day, watching some stuff on YouTube or whatever is a really great way to get a sense of if you like somewhere or not. But liking somewhere and being able to live somewhere is a really, really big difference. And that's something that I really encourage people to focus on is if you are serious about moving somewhere, do your research and spend time there. Go there regularly. Do a reconnaissance trip. I've got lots of advice and some resources for how to really use your time well when you're going to somewhere for a week or 2 weeks to really map out what would it look like to live here. How do I properly research being here long term so that I get more than a surface level touristy perspective, but I actually understand what it feels like to be based here, how I would interact with the community, whether my needs would be met, etc. So that's a kind of side note for something that I advise for those who are at an earlier stage. But going back to me, one of the things that in some ways I wished I knew, in other ways I'm glad I didn't, is just the huge difference it makes being here, knowing that this is it. I'm here. I'm not going to have to catch a flight in 6 weeks' time. I'm not going to have to think about what it's going to be like to go back to Gatwick and waiting to eventually be here. The bliss, the joy that I felt for like the first month or two when I would just sit and watch my kids playing and not have to worry about catching a flight, to just know that this is my base, this is where I am. It's just an indescribable pleasure. It's huge, absolutely huge. And I guess that experience is going to be different for folks who are coming here and know that they want Grenada to be a base, know that they want Grenada to be a place where they live for the long term versus someone who's just coming here as a digital nomad for 3 months or whatever. Knowing that the feeling that this is a place where you're going to plant roots is special. It's exciting. It was really exciting. Now there's an element of dauntingness to it, but it's just really lovely to reflect back on those first few. It's like the start of a relationship where everything is fresh and new and beautiful. And remembering what that was like, that it's just a huge sense of release, a huge sense of just looking forward to what's going to come, the start of an adventure. One of the other things I absolutely love about Grenada that I wish I knew before is just the stunning scenery. From beaches to rainforests to waterfalls like this one, there's just so much on offer that can just make such a difference to your quality of life. And it was one of the reasons why I moved here, and having it on offer is like spectacular. But I think one of the things that's also really important to recognize is actually making time to appreciate all of this. I last came here probably in summer last year. This is my first time back at this stunning, stunning place. I mean, I don't know if I can get out this shot and show you. It's just really, really beautiful. And there are dozens of waterfalls. Not all as amazing as this, some even more stunning, some harder to get to. But just having that on offer is something that you really learn to appreciate in Grenada. but you also have to make the time to make sure that you're incorporating it into your schedule, because especially if you're working remotely, it can be really easy to just be all about being in front of your computer, on Zoom, emailing, etc. And taking the time out to unplug, get into nature, really makes a difference. And to me, that's my antidote to the drinking situation. It's a way to be out and about. Oh my God, there's so many bamboo trees moving. It's a way to be out and about in a place that's just really nurturing, balancing, grounding without the hangover, you know? So it's definitely a win-win. And especially for those of you who are living in St. George's, to take the time to get out of the capital. I'm currently in St. Andrews. There's just a different vibe. The energy is amazing. And I think, getting out, being in nature can often be on your to-do list, on your wish list for making that move abroad, but actually making sure that you actually get to do it really does make a difference. For me, it looks like coming to places like this. It looks like doing the hashes, which is basically kind of like fast hiking in nature. It's a way to really get to explore that island. But yeah, definitely nature connectedness is a massive part of what Grenada has to offer. So making sure that you position yourself to be able to tap into that is something that I think is really, really important, and something that I know that I definitely need to prioritize going forward in year 2. So one of the things I really wish I knew before moving to Grenada is just how important it is to be grateful. Having a practice whereby every single day, no matter what happens, you wake up and make a concerted effort to be grateful for what you have on offer is so important. One of the things that I've found is that it can be very easy to take having a backdrop like this for granted, to be able to get to the sea every day, you're going past stunning backdrops on your way to work. It's really, really easy to take it for granted. And I think when you fall into that trap, you really miss so much of what was exactly the reason for you moving. I know there's been months where I haven't even made it to the sea, and I think that's criminal considering that I lived in the UK before and all I had on offer was Brighton Beach, which was freezing cold and horrendous. So one of the things I really am planning to do going forward, and which I encourage everyone to do whenever we have our consultation calls or group sessions, is to really, even before you move, just really embody what it means to be grateful. Because on an island like this, you can't see what I'm looking at, but it's so stunning. Without any effort, you just step into absolute beauty, to peace, to calm, to nourishment, and to forget what a luxury it is to have that on offer is really, really a missed opportunity. And I think that's definitely one of the lessons that Grenada has taught me towards the final 12 months of my time being here, or towards the tail end of my 12 months, is that yes, there's going to be stuff that isn't going to be amazing, but there's so much that's just absolutely beautiful, that's just absolutely amazing, wonderful, nourishing through no effort of my own. I just happen to step into it, and to be appreciative of that, to be grateful of that, really does help at times where there are other things that might feel like glitches. So yeah, gratitude, the importance of gratitude for sure is a learning lesson that this beautiful island has taught me. One of the other things that I've really come to realize, and to be honest, everyone told me before, I knew before, but experiencing it is something else. Things here take a lot of time. Things move slowly. I'm here sitting on the veranda at my house in Madeys. Before I left, I thought within 6 to 9 months, it'll be more or less done. It's anything but done. The garden, if those of you have seen previous videos, that what started on that. But the house itself is, yeah, not that much has happened in the past 12 months. And what I love is that I'm okay with that. Not only does Grenada move slowly, but I started to move slowly too. I started to realize that not everything has to be urgent. Not everything has to be a right now. And that's definitely been an adjustment. Initially, it was tough to realize that my will wasn't going to be enough to change the way in which people did things. There are cultural norms here. There are a way in which things have been done for decades, and my opinions, my stress isn't going to change any of it. So it's definitely been a journey to learn how to be okay with that. It's been a journey to kind of just to surrender to it. I missed deadlines. I'm late at times, not always, but sometimes you just learn to let stuff go, and that can be nice. But it's also been really cool to realize, what am I not willing to let go of? I think if you asked me 6 months ago, I would have very much been in the camp of, this is the Caribbean, this is the way in which things are done, so you've just got to adapt to it, which is true up until a certain point. But I think I'm now at the stage where I choose what I accept and what I don't. For example, if I know that I need something done and I am depending on it and a deadline can't be missed, I have no qualms about outsourcing it to someone back in the UK, in India, in the Philippines, wherever, who will get the job done in the time frame that I need it done, especially with the stuff that I do online. So yeah, I think, that everyone is going to come up with the equation that works for them. I move more slowly. I am more accepting of the reality that in the Caribbean, it's just a different pace. But at the same time, I'm not going to drive myself crazy going around in circles on things that I don't think should happen that way, because you have choices and you can outsource and you can work with people who understand your values, who understand your standards. And that's the solution that I've ended up taking with the work that I do. And I also think longer term, going forwards, yeah, there's stuff that I just can't adjust to, stuff that I'm not willing to adjust to. So being aware of that, I am very intentional about what I involve myself in, how I involve myself, the level with which, I'll try to make sure that I can adapt to something. Because if I know from the start, that's just not how I work, I think it's okay for it to be a no, to have your boundaries as to what you will accept and what you don't. And to some people that might come across as difficult or stuck up or whatever, but that's cool. At the end of the day, you're the one who has to do you. You're the one who has to navigate it. And sometimes you have to make compromises. Sometimes you have to accept that you've spent however many decades where you came from. And if that's your default setting, that's your default setting. So yeah, it's a bit of picking and choosing, navigating. But yeah, adapting to the slowness has been interesting. I knew it was going to happen, but how it's turned out has been surprising, and I like it. I'm quite unapologetic about needing to be slow myself, but I'm equally unapologetic about saying, no, I'm not going to accept it this way. I need to do it that way. So hopefully you too will be able to work out the happy medium that works for you. So one of the things that's actually surprising about Grenada, which I kind of was aware of already, but it is actually pretty expensive. I think there are very few places where you will be moving. I'm just going to pick up my coffee. There'll be very few places that you are moving from and you want to move to Grenada, maintain your same standard of life, and spend less. Perhaps if you're moving from LA or Chelsea in London or some of the most fancy parts of New York, perhaps then you might be saving money. But if you want to come to Grenada, get a freshly brewed coffee and be somewhere that's nice, you're probably going to be spending a similar amount to you are back home. This coffee, cappuccino, was 10 EC, which is about, I don't know, £3 something. So yeah, Grenada's not cheap, but it can be if you're willing to adjust how you live. One of the choices I've had to make is how much am I willing to give up on my creature comforts. And sometimes when you're having a bad day, it's just nice to come somewhere nice like this place here. So definitely something to factor in. Crunch your numbers, be really honest about the sort of life that you want to live here, because it might end up being a lot pricier than you would initially imagine. One of the things that I've come to realize is that while in moving, you might think, okay, I'm going to leave my home country, I'm going to settle somewhere else. That period of transition is real. It is something to get your head around. And I don't think it's just me. I've spoken to a number of the folks who I've interviewed for the channel, followed up with them in between, and that sort of, I don't know, 6 to 18 months, perhaps even three years. That period of adjusting to a country can really be testing, but it's a real period of growth. And I think that's one of the things that I wish I'd fully got my head around before moving, is that thing of when you just feel like, whoa, can I hack this? This isn't what I thought it was going to be. That's entirely normal. You know, it's all a process. I don't think you just move and land and everything happens perfectly. Maybe it does for some people. It definitely hasn't for me or anyone else I know. But yeah, realizing that that's normal, that it's not necessarily an issue with the place you are in physically, but the place you are in terms of time, in terms of the process. That is really important, and that's one of the lessons that Grenada has definitely taught me. And when it gets a bit much, I come to places like this, to the fort, where you just, you know, get a sense of perspective, realize that actually you're not that important, life has gone on before you, it will continue going on afterwards, and really it's about how you react and how you deal with whatever the situation flows with you. But yeah, that's definitely been a learning to date.